much for the introduction. I will try to keep it as brief as possible. So our program is called Why Showing Up, because we're encouraging people to be courageous to stand up to a religious vilification incident. And that's the reason behind the title. So it's about providing a training workshop for innocent or ordinary everyday civilians to be courageous, to be a circuit breaker, to distance the victim from the perpetrator. So if we can get on to the next slide, I'll sort of go into the detail a bit more. So it was the why and the what. Well, obviously, in many countries, in Western countries in particular, we've noticed in Australia, the UK, US, for example, anti-Semitism and Islamophobia is on the rise. And the community organisations, our one, and the Jewish Community Council of Victoria came together to work to devise a program where we do, like I said, encourage, not only encourage, but skill up individuals to be able to circumvent any incident which is awry and is even vile to some degree, because obviously when it comes to racism, limits, well, there are no limits to some people because they just seem to go off and shoot off whatever comes to their mind. So to be able to break that communication, we wanted the interveners to be competent enough in a harmless way to intervene and to be able to put the victim at ease by going to their support. Next slide, please. I think that's going to explain that in the background there. So, like I said, it's about just upskilling and giving them the confidence in a safe way to intervene and make sure that they are playing the circuit breaker role to be able to cut off that vitriol. Some of the SDGs we tried to address was obviously number 16, and I should have included number 17 in terms of partnership, because you had a Jewish and a Muslim founder organisation who have come together and engaged a third party to deliver the actual program. But the purpose was also to inform the participants about the faith, what some of the sensitive points are, because the people who are in the firing line of this religious vilification are predominantly the Jewish male with the kippah and the Muslim female with the hijab, because they're visibly Muslim. Otherwise, I'm Muslim, but if I'm walking down the street, I won't be able to know that. And I got my Jewish female friend who was the president of the Jewish Community Council of Victoria. You wouldn't have known that she was Jewish at all, because she's not wearing anything that's visible to Jewish symbols that we've sort of become accustomed and known for. Next slide, please. So in terms of the expected outcomes, as you can see there, was about providing half-day workshops. Who do we target? We targeted predominantly people who are in the front line of services with community work. We've also targeted or invited people from the general public. We screened them as well to make sure that their intent is pure and they're coming for the right reasons. They were with smaller groups, 12 to 20. We didn't need to have a minimum of 12 just to make sure that the role-playing scenarios that we did offer, meaning the facilitated offer, had some substance to it, and that it sort of reenacted a situation, because sometimes it happens in large crowds, or it can happen in a smaller environment with only 2 or 3 people. And if you're the third person, well, you're encouraged to act and play that circuit breaker role. And also it was about encouraging others or emboldening others to be courageous enough to stand up and play that role of being that circuit breaker. Next slide, please. So over the 2 years we delivered the program, we had over about 120 participants. They felt that they were energized and empowered, and they played a referral role for us as well. So through the participation, they were able to refer others to come on board and participate in this program. And we've got, like Noel said, in Australia, we've got a Islamophobia and anti-Semitism register, which captures all these details. Whenever an incident takes place, people are encouraged to ring up and provide the details of what the nature of the incident was. And in that way, we capture the breadth of the issues or the scenarios at hand, and that helps us present information to policymakers, whether it be government or others, on what these scenarios are looking like, and which areas are growing, and where we should be focusing more our attention to alleviate some of these issues. Next slide, please. So we had this was a government-funded initiative, and we had the minister who was responsible for that, Minister for Multicultural Affairs, give obviously the speech. Next slide, please. And that's just a scenario or a picture from one of our workshops. Now, we made it quite engaging. This is obviously when they're all sitting down and learning what the sensitive points are. But what we did was we encouraged people to stand up and play the victim, we had our facilitators play the perpetrator, but play the victim. And then there was about 4 or 5 of us who were encouraged to be the bystander. So by going deep and by literally putting out real life offensive language, we wanted to sort of reenact the real life scenario where we basically challenged our participants to act. What would you do in this scenario? So we got them to explain what they would do, and then if the facilitator felt that would not be the best course of action, they were guided on what the best course of action would be. Next slide, please. And here's some of the feedback. What we saw from many of our feedback is that casual racism, hence casual religious vilification, is out there. And we need to obviously call this out. I think it's all of our responsibility to call out whether there is something wrong, to be at least recognise that it's not correct and it's not acceptable, because the standard you walk by is the standard you accept. But if you do not accept when someone's being harmed by words, then it's our duty to call that out. Next slide, please. And similarly, this is a person that got involved in the program with her husband, because it was her husband's in this line of work. So obviously reach and trying to get the message out to get more people involved in these types of programs is a challenge for all of us. I hear the great work that we're doing here. So I guess for us, it's about how do we reach out to as many people as possible. I think the next one maybe might find the slide. And the key thing that I sort of got out of this, and our friends from the Jewish community as well, is that there is obviously a lot that needs to be done. And we have limited funding. Sustainability is a challenge for all of us. But these are areas that we definitely do need to touch upon, because it is a serious matter and it does require a community response. But we also need to make it more of a society response. So hence we're encouraging ordinary citizens to stand up and play their role, because together we'll be able to make the society better. I think that was my final thought. So thank you very much.